Let's bring in Peter Baker, New York Times White House correspondent, Sarah Ellison, National Enterprise reporter with the Washington Post, and Dave Ehrenberg, former state attorney for Palm Beach County and former Florida state representative. Welcome all. So, Peter, let's take a look at the front page of a Scottish newspaper that marked Trump's arrival in Scotland. What are you hearing about how the White House plans to manage scandal while he's abroad?
Well, look, I think that he would like to manage scandal by pointing directions everywhere else, right? He just posted this morning on his social media platform an image of his predecessor, President Barack Obama, driving a white Bronco being chased by police cars, including one driven by himself, Donald Trump, and another driven apparently by J.D. Vance, as if Obama were O.J. Simpson. Now, this is him, of course, trying to play up this idea that Obama did something wrong during the 2016 election interference investigation, which has been one of Trump's strategy lately for diverting attention from the Epstein conspiracy theory and to try to point the finger at a predecessor in a way that we've never seen a sitting president do. We've never seen a sitting president literally post images online of a previous president being chased by the police, a previous video, AI video of Obama being handcuffed in the Oval Office and put in prison. This is an extraordinary statement of how this president operates, and no other president ever has.
Indeed. Let's talk about the president, Peter, who was also asked two key questions yesterday. Watch this.
Would you consider a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell if she cooperated?
It's something I haven't thought about. It's really something. It's something I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about.
On your name appearing in the Epstein files ever?
No, I was never briefed. No.
I'm curious, Peter, how you interpret these answers and why he isn't ruling out a pardon outright.
Well, look, he has used pardons repeatedly, particularly in his first term, or the dangling of pardons, as a way of influencing events and influencing people. He held out pardons for people who, in theory, could have testified to things that wouldn't have been advantageous to him in his first term, and it seemed to work in some instances. The people who have gotten pardons under President Trump have, for the most part, been people who were politically aligned with him or who were his allies or who were brought to his attention by political allies. And that's been, a modus operandi we've seen since the beginning. As for the second question you showed, where he was asked directly, were you briefed on the papers and the fact that your name was in them? He said no, even though, of course, our reporting and the Wall Street Journal's reporting, and I think most others now at this point have confirmed it, that he was, in fact, briefed on that by his Attorney General, Pam Bondi. Again, the fact that his name is in the files may not be that big of a surprise because we did know he was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. But the fact that he chooses to say no, even though everybody else says yes, I think, of course, is telling.
So, Dave, NBC News is reporting Maxwell was given limited immunity to answer the questions from Todd Blanche. And here's how her lawyer responded to Trump's remarks about a possible pardon.
We haven't spoken to the president or anybody about a pardon just yet. And listen, the president this morning said he had the power to do so. We hope he exercises that power in the right and just way. Thank you.
So he also said that Maxwell did not ask for a deal, no offers on the table. So what do you read into all of this? And why then would the Deputy Attorney General of the United States schedule an interview with Ghislaine Maxwell in the first place? I mean, is the government reopening the investigation?
No, Alex, they even said the investigation is over. It is extraordinary that the number 2 person at the Department of Justice would himself go and interview Ghislaine Maxwell in private. And David Marcus, who is a friend, he's a fine criminal defense lawyer, he's playing the game. He's doing that dance that Trump and defense lawyer would do, which is not to come out and say, I want a pardon, not to come out and say, I'm going to give you a pardon. As Peter said, that's not how Trump works. As we saw with Paul Manafort, it's to sort of subtly dangle it to make sure there's compliance. And Trump can get something he wants out of Ghislaine Maxwell, exoneration. He wants Maxwell to come out and say that Trump didn't do anything wrong. In fact, he doesn't even appear in the files as far as I know it. Whereas Ghislaine Maxwell wants a pardon. And that's the dance they're playing right now. They're not going to come out and say it directly. That's not how Trump works. We've seen this movie before.
Sarah, I know you've been writing about how the MAGA influencers have put pressure on both Trump and Bondi. So here's a sample of what some of them are saying this week. Listen up.
Yeah.
Trump is protecting other pedophiles.
Facts.
Like, that's what it is.
Pam Bondi, as I call her, dropped the ball as it relates to the Epstein investigation.
Just because your name is in there doesn't mean you're guilty. Okay, and I think that's what they're trying to freaking cover up.
He is rebuking the base, like almost like spitting in their face.
It's a mess. It's a mess.
It is. And the longer she keeps doing that and has a job, it falls on the president.
So look, Laura Loomer has proven to be quite influential in this administration. How far can she and the MAGA wing of the Republican Party take this?
Well, it's such a good question. I mean, as we have seen in other instances, Laura Loomer has immense influence over this administration. She has dictated personnel in the national security realm. She is someone who has an opinion on just about everything and has chosen to use her influence with the president to push issues that are important to her.
Yeah, not too well, but yes, I consider him a acquaintance, somewhat friend, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry about that, sorry.
That's okay. But what you pointed out is what's unusual about this moment is that normally the MAGA media base has been completely aligned with Donald Trump on the issues that he wants to promote. And this is such an unusual moment because the people who are pressing him the most on this are the people who support him in the media and the people whom he has elevated in this administration. They are the ones, as you just showed, who are repeatedly trying to hold this president's feet to the fire. I will say that they are largely trying to avoid criticizing the president personally. They are going after Attorney General Pam Bondi. And we all understand this about the Epstein story. It is both a real story. It is also a massive conspiracy theory that implicates potentially, at least this is the way that the MAGA media would have it, lots of prominent Democrats, people in Hollywood who are hiding their association and their activity with Jeffrey Epstein. But what you see now is how much control President Trump can actually exert over this influential group of people.
But within the MAGA world, as this outrage is growing, Sarah, Steve Bannon is among those who rallied around the president after he sued the Wall Street Journal. So has Epstein effectively fractured MAGA?
I would be, I think it's premature to say that it has long-term fractured MAGA, but it is certainly the largest test that we have seen to President Trump's base to stand completely aligned with him. Because as you're correct, you have people who are hardliners who are really sticking to this. Steve Bannons of the world are also people who can sort of understand the value of changing the subject. And so when the Wall Street Journal wrote a story about how President Trump had written a sort of bawdy or contributed to a bawdy birthday present that Jeffrey Epstein received on his 50th birthday, what MAGA influencers and people in the administration and President Trump's followers were able to do is unite around a common enemy, which is the mainstream media. And it has been from the moment that he declared his presidential campaign in 2015, a unifying force. And Steve Bannon said, we're at our best when we're united. And he really relished in that. That is changing the subject to a degree, but it is incredible how much Epstein is at the center of all of this.
So, Peter, let's watch some of what Maxwell's brother said on a talk show. This was 3 days ago. Here it is.
President Trump was asked the only time, I believe, in public, at the tail end of his presidency, so say, November, December 2021, about Ghislaine. And he said, I don't know much about it, but I wish her well. And I don't think that anyone else showed the slightest piece of humanity. He made a positive statement. I'm very grateful to that. I know Ghislaine was too.
Look, it sounds like it may have been directed at an audience of one. Is Trump going to fall for this? I'm curious your assessment, Peter, of the predicament that Trump finds himself in and this tightrope that he may be trying to walk.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ghislaine Maxwell doesn't have a lot of credibility. I mean, if she were to testify or to offer a statement with some sort of immunity, it's a good question whether anybody would believe it anyway, because she's been convicted of such horrific crimes, and of course is not told the truth in the legal setting already. But yeah, it does seem like an audience of one that he's pitching toward there. And you never know with Trump. I mean, with Trump, his calculations are different than the ordinary politician. He does things that politicians wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole if he sees them to be his advantage. So there are scenarios where you could picture him deciding there was something worth pursuing there. But, we don't know what Tom Blanche heard in these 2 days worth of interviews. And as Dave said, it's so unusual. The idea that the Deputy Attorney General would personally go interview a convicted felon in prison. I can't think of an example like that. And it's all worth remembering that Blanche was previously Donald Trump's personal attorney. Right. And the distinction between the two seems rather murky at this point.